Now, in the earlier part, I have explained you the activities which one has to take. Now, in part third, I will be explaining you that what data has to be collected and how exactly it has to be done. Now, the decision has to be taken with respect to the three things. Number one is from which group of students data are to be collected. Second, which tool to be used to collect the data, and the third is how the intervention is to be made operative. This is very important because the quality of action research will depend to a large extent on this particular steps, that the collection of the data. Now, one has to first select the group. Now, in action research, you know that you have to take the group as it exists in the school. There is no random selection of the students. There is no random selection of the sections. So, you know, if you are teaching class 9th A and mathematics, and if you find that there are some concept of the mathematics which the students are not able to understand, so therefore you can conduct the research in that particular section for that particular concept. Think how should you change your method of teaching, or how should you change your homework or your classwork, which may help the students in understanding that concept. So, the group as exists in the classroom is to be taken. You may take all students, or you may leave those students who have already understood those concepts and they come up to your expectation. Another can be those students in which the teacher wants to bring change can be taken up. If there are some students who are lagging behind and the method which you have already used might not have worked well with these students, so you can take that group. Another can be that there is no random selection, as I have earlier said. Now, after selecting the group, we have now to select the tool which you as a teacher will be using to collect the information, to collect the data. So, one may use more than one tool or for collecting the data. Another can be one should not gather everything as one is acting. Many a times it happens that as a researcher you feel like collecting all information that comes during the process of conducting action research. One has to be focused. One should not collect all information, because if that is done, you may not be able to use that information to get the answer of the questions which you have in your mind. So, therefore, just collect the required data. Another is one has to collect the data, then the following points will help you as a young researcher. These are: does the tool give a form of data which relates to your question? Sometime the tool may have a question whose answer you may not be able to use to answer your action research questions. So, therefore, your tool should have only those questions whose answers you will be able to use when you are moving ahead with your action research. Now, is it feasible in the available time? Sometime we are so motivated that we like to do lot of things in the stipulated time, and at the end we feel that the time was short. So, therefore, one has to see the feasibility that whatever the data, whatever the information you as a researcher do, you should be able to do it. You do not really be shortage of the time. Will it be acceptable tool for the other people involved? Because whatever the tool you will use in order to collect the information, the quality of your finding will depend to a large extent on the quality of the tool. So, once you use a tool, and if the other people they read your finding, then they should be able to understand and they should accept. Another is, will it disrupt the normal routine? Whatever you do in the action research, try to see that normal routine is not disrupted, normal routine is not disturbed. You will be able to do everything as per the timetable of that particular school. So, the tools used in collecting the data, any one of the following can be used. One is the teacher prepared test, that teacher can prepare one's own test, and this has to be done because in the action research you may be trying a particular strategy, a particular intervention to teach a particular content, and therefore, you may like to evaluate, you may like to examine, you may like to find out whether the intervention has been effective or not. So, therefore, a teacher has to prepare the test, as normally the teachers prepare test in their day to day teaching also, because they have to conduct tests. Another is observation schedule, and this observation schedule can be prepared by the teacher, so that the teacher while conducting the action research can observe the students as well as can observe the teacher himself or herself. The observation schedule either the teacher can use or the teacher can train another colleague who can help in collecting the data with the help of the observation schedule. Another can be audio and video tape recording. This is not very difficult these days, as the facilities are available in the schools for audio and video recording. This will help the researcher, the teacher himself, because after doing that action research, and if it is audio and video recorded, then he or she can replay it and try to find out those aspects where the improvement is required, where one can change. So, therefore, this audio and video recording, and this can also give a feedback to the teacher about the students, how students were feeling, what were their facial expressions, because many a times some of the facial expressions indicate many things that keeps on going in the minds of the students. Another can be that structured or semi-structured interview a teacher can develop, and a teacher can talk to the students, can take their interview, and the structured interview is the one where you will be asking or taking information related to different aspects of your intervention, different aspects of the whole strategy that you have used. The semi-structured means you want to go deep into a particular aspect. You may like to probe, you may like to find more and more responses of the students related to one aspect of the intervention, so that you learn more, and next time if you have to try this intervention, you may change whatever you feel you could not do this time. So, therefore, structured and unstructured or semi-structured interviews can also be used. One can also see the class records, like the notebooks, the homework which the teacher gives and the students have done. If you see homeworks and analyze the homework, you can get lot of ideas. You can find out what type of mistakes the students are doing, and therefore you can plan your intervention strategy later on accordingly. Another can be some field notes can be taken, that when you are conducting the action research and when you are implementing your intervention that you have thought of, during that there might be certain situations or certain incidents which you might not have thought will come, but they cropped in. So, therefore, you may like to take those notes which may help you later on. Another is you may request someone to take some of the photographs, or you may take it yourself. Another can be the homework, and if you collect the data using all these tools, and later on when you analyze the responses, you will come to know lot of things. And the last in this particular is that we have to method used to collect the data. Now, there are different methods which one may use, but in action research the only appropriate method is the experimental method, because in action research one has to take some action, and after taking that action one should see the output of that action, and then one should proceed further. So, one has to have some treatment, one has to have some intervention. So, therefore, here the as a researcher one has to decide which intervention is to be given. If you want to change the methods of teaching, then you should understand which method you want to use, you want to try out, you want to find out whether it benefits the students or not. If you think that you should record some of your lectures and let students listen to that lecture, then that is the intervention you are planning, and therefore, that is the one which you have to now do it. Another is how long the intervention continues. That means how long you want to treat this particular group differently. If you are teaching with the help of video recorded lecture, then how many topics will you like to teach, so that after analyzing the outcomes, then you can decide whether it helps the students or not. If it does not help, probably you have to change your intervention. Then how many times the data are to be collected? Normally in action research, you as a teacher should collect the data before the intervention and at the end of the intervention, because this change will give you some idea whether your intervention has been effective or not. Another is at what point during the intervention the data are collected. Now, do you want to collect the data only before you start your intervention and at the end of the intervention, or if your intervention continues for a little longer period, then you have to decide whether you want to have it only in the beginning and at the end, or you want to have it sometime in the middle also. If it is in the middle, then at what time, what point of time in the middle, that means how much the treatment should go, so that you again collect the data related to that particular variable. So, this is how we have now I have tried to explain you the methods of collecting the data. Now, in the next one I will like to explain you how will you analyze the data, because whatever the data you have collected, it has to be analyzed in order to get answer to some of the questions which we have already planned.